Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio. I am your host, Ed Dentzel. It's Friday night. Hope you all had a great week. For those of you in relationships out there, it's probably about time that you start thinking about Valentine's Day, which is Sunday. You still got time. You got all of Saturday to get it done. I always like to point out around this time of the year, and I've been doing this every year for years, that this will be, let me get this right, this will be 11 years in a row, 12 years in a row, that I have not had to buy anything on Valentine's Day. And I want you to know I take great pride in that. I don't know how that always works out. I've had a few relationships over the years since whatever that year would be, 2003, 2004, which is the last time I think I was actually dating a woman at the time of Valentine's Day. But somehow I never seem to be have any person in my life, any woman in my life around this time of the year. So, hey, I might as well go for the record, right? I mean, if you're going to go for 11, 12 years, you might as well make it 30 years or 40 years. I can't, it's been so long, I can't even remember what it's like to even think about buying anything, doing anything, getting anything on Valentine's Day. That's how long it's been. You'd almost think that I was in jail this time of the year since 2004, which I believe was the last time, so it'd be 11 years, 2005 through 2016. I think 2004 was the last time I actually had to think about doing anything, and even that was close because, as I remember it, not long after that, I dumped that woman that I was dating. So that was even close. So without that, it could be almost 2 decades. It's just the way it's worked out. Not my planning. I'm a single guy still at 45. Has its good points, has its bad points. So it's about that time, people. Both men and women. Women do buy things so for their men on Valentine's Day, right? Once again, it's been so long that I can't ever remember ever getting anything for Valentine's Day. It just does not occur to me. It's one part of the American experience that I haven't taken part in a long time. And really, I don't miss it. I don't miss it for 1 second. It's, you know what it is? And you know, I'm a capitalist. This is a political show. I talk about free markets, free trade, people running their own businesses. I don't mind corporations. But let's just call what Valentine's Day is. It's just a manufactured holiday. Let's just call it for what it is. It's just a holiday that I'm sure somebody's going to say, well, it traces back to ancient Greece. I have no idea what the true history of Valentine's Day is. But the truth is, we could go without Valentine's Day. July 4th, not a manufactured holiday. Christmas, kind of manufactured, but we know, if you're a believer, Jesus was born on some day. We just don't know exactly what the day is. So we're going to just make it December 25th. Same way with Easter, and it varies from year to year. But we know Jesus came back from the dead. Once again, if you're a believer, it happened someday, so you got to celebrate it somehow. Valentine's Day. And guys, the truth is, guys, for you guys out there, here's what you got to know. Really, in your woman's head, every day should be Valentine's Day. And maybe that's one of the reasons that I'm still single at 45. But let's get to the show. You can email me at edwarddentzel@reagan.com, and you can find me on Twitter, Dentzel Domain, all one word, no space in between. Democrats had a debate last night. For once, they did not have it on a Saturday night. Give all the credit in the world to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Held it on a Thursday night. I only caught a very small part of it since when it was going on, I was at the gym. And so I was on the treadmill, and it was closed caption. I don't know at what point. I don't know if it was the beginning of the debate, the middle of the debate, the end of the debate. I have no idea. Hillary Clinton was saying something. I was reading it. And at that particular time, it didn't seem to me like she and Bernie were arguing. Although, from what I read today, they did have some disagreements here and there. But what I did read about it, and I think in those same articles, is that there was no mention of, by either the moderator or Bernie Sanders, the moderators or Bernie Sanders, no mention of her email problems. Whether you believe them or not, you'd think somebody would eventually bring them up. No mention of the FBI investigation of her. No mention of the Clinton Foundation. No mention of Benghazi. And I'll mention again, Bernie Sanders didn't even bring any of that stuff up on his own. Now, see, I understand moderators not bringing it up. It's a Democrat debate. They're in the tank for the Democrats, whoever it is. You have to remember, those moderators, they're going to vote for Hillary or Bernie no matter what. So I understand them not bringing it up. But if Bernie Sanders really wants to win the nomination, I think that he has to bring it up. I think that he does. And I wonder, this is one of those situations where I have to try to put myself in the shoes of a Democrat. Do I want that stuff brought up during a debate? Maybe they don't. Maybe all of those, your average Democrat watching in Connecticut last night, probably dismisses everything. Dismisses the emails, think it's all political. Trey Gowdy, he just political. Whoever Republican they're going to pick out that have gone after Hillary Clinton regarding this, it's all political, so there's no reason to bring it up. The FBI, it's some rogue agency. It's all politically motivated. I don't know how they'd square that with the fact that if Barack Obama wanted this investigation to go away, he would have made it go away by this time. I think he could have done that. I'm not saying that. Of course, I don't believe that's right. And he would take a lot of crap for it. But he's taken a lot of crap for a lot of other things and doesn't seem to bother him at all. So if he wanted to stop this at this point, he could. I mean, if I know what Hillary Clinton's likability ratings are, then Barack Obama knows what Clinton's likability ratings are. And I think at least a little bit of that comes from these controversies. And obviously, if Hillary is barely winning, if she even did win in Iowa, and she is getting her butt kicked, got her butt kicked in New Hampshire, then you have to believe that those problems that she has are somewhat of a factor. I'm not saying they're the whole factor. I think that if we as conservatives, Republicans are trying to tell ourselves that all these people are going to Bernie Sanders because of Hillary Clinton, Benghazi, email, or whatever else, we're kidding ourselves. It's a mixture of a lot of different reasons. Okay? So, probably your average Democrat doesn't want it brought up. But I also believe, you know what? There are a lot of hardcore Bernie Sanders supporters out there who you get to get, and probably they skew toward younger people, and maybe also some Democrats who are hardcore leftists, and maybe they're just full of the Clintons. They look at the Clintons and say they've compromised too much. They've compromised with the right too much. They've taken money from Wall Street and this and that. They've been wishy-washy, and it's about time we get a dedicated socialist in the Democrat Party running for president. And so those people would have a reason, I think, for Benghazi and the emails to come up. Because those are controversies, although we as conservatives see those problems as Hillary Clinton. But Benghazi, we see that as even a bigger problem with Democrats in foreign policy as well. But Bernie Sanders is not attached to the email controversy. He's not attached to the Clinton Foundation. And probably only on the fringes is he attached to Benghazi. Maybe he was sitting in on some secret committee somewhere around that time. That would probably be it. But he doesn't bring that up. I said this months ago. I was going to gauge how seriously Bernie Sanders wants to be president by how much he's willing to talk about the emails. Now, we know in the first debate that they had, he just came out and said, I don't care about those emails. Came to her defense. But I think that was it. But things have changed. Things have definitely changed on the Democrat side. I think even when he said that back, when was it, September? He thought, there's no way I'm going to, stick around. But then the momentum has built itself up. He's gotten some momentum. People start believing in him. But unfortunately, all these months later, 4 months later, 5 months, he's still treating those controversies the same. Doesn't want them brought up, doesn't want to talk about them. Whereas I would have to say, I think that his supporters do want that. And I wonder when that's going to occur to him. I wonder. Maybe they think that he can beat her without bringing any of that up. Or maybe they're even though they're supporting him, maybe they're thinking in the back of their minds, you know what, Bernie, love him. We think he's the right candidate at the right time, but we don't think there's just still too many of those older Democrats who love compromising with the right, love compromising with Wall Street, love compromising with corporations, love compromising with doctors. And we may just have to wait maybe another generation before we can get the true socialist guy or gal to run. Maybe that's in these supporters. But in the meantime, they're going to give Bernie Sanders as much support as they can. Because it'll be very telling if Bernie supporters never get outraged at their own candidate for not bringing up all of Hillary's problems. That never happens on our side. And that's the big difference between them and us. And it has nothing to do, I know a lot of conservatives, they're crazy about these debates. These two never get asked any tough questions. Yeah, I know. But the truth is, we on our side, whether you're a Donald Trump supporter, Jeb Bush supporter, Ted Cruz supporter, we are all much more honest with ourselves regarding the other candidates than the other side is. We are much more honest. We are much more rabid than they are. And I think the reason is that at some point on our side, ideas and flaws and inconsistencies and lack of logic start to matter at some point. For them, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I mean, here on our side, we'll drive each other nuts over one topic, immigration, that for your average conservative, I don't even know how important that topic is. But for people who are really into politics, regular people, who are into politics, that follow, it's like a hobby to them, it's like a crazy topic. Average person, not so much. But we will be even more than brutally honest, assessing, me personally, immigration, not high. I think I'm somewhere around your average American when it comes to immigration and illegal immigration. To the right, but, I don't get crazy about it. And I've criticized the conservatives who do, trying to make it our party, our ideology, a one-issue ideology. But we will be more than brutally honest, and we get ticked off if our personal candidate doesn't bring the other candidate's flaws up. For a lot of people, it's why doesn't Rubio go after Trump? Why doesn't Cruz go after Trump? And for Trump supporters, why doesn't Trump go after Cruz even more? Why doesn't Trump go after Rubio even more? And I think we're going to get to that. I think before South Carolina voting happens, we're going to get to that. But that's been going on for months, but we're much more brutally honest. Maybe it's just who we are. They're not like that. They're willing to disagree on some things, but really it's only in degree. It's not black or white. And there's, of course, a lot of lies mixed in there as well. But when you know that Bernie Sanders can go, how long was the debate? 2 hours? And not bring up any of that, could you see that happening on the Republican side? Whether there are 6 or 7 candidates on stage or 2, could you ever see that happening? No matter the candidate, no matter if it's Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, never. Would never happen. That's who they are. That's who we are. But I just wonder how long that can go on, even on their side. These young people, and we're going to talk about these young people maybe before the show's over, who are embracing socialism. There's this u.gov poll out there about millennials. They're just crazy about socialism over capitalism. We'll get to that maybe. And I know that a lot of these people regarding Bernie, who are supporting Bernie Sanders, are complete kooks. And I'm sure if I got to know any of them, within a few days, I'd be seeing double standards all over the place regarding socialism versus capitalism. The fact is, they love capitalism just fine. But still, they want their guy to win. Don't they? Or is that just a step too far for Bernie to criticize and go after Hillary Clinton for this stuff that essentially has started, they would say, on the right? Is that just out of bounds? Maybe they think that he can just win on the issues alone. Maybe they don't want to play into conservative Republican hands. Maybe Bernie doesn't want to do that because he's parroting Republican talking points. Is that what it is? I can understand it. Maybe he doesn't believe any of it. But I'm going to guarantee that some of his supporters do believe it, and even if they don't believe it, they want it brought up because they want him to win. And I'm just wondering if those people at some point are going to get really loud and are going to start, pushing him. I haven't been, maybe I could figure this out if I went on Twitter, started looking at what some huge Bernie fans are saying and seeing that if they're talking about Benghazi, see if they're talking about the emails. If they're not, then I guess this is what you saw last night. I just saw about a minute of it. Will continue. And their competition will continue as if those problems don't exist. It'll be just a good old-fashioned two Democrats duking it out, kind of duking it out, trying to go after the same voters. and one of them is going to pull punches because he doesn't want to damage Hillary Clinton. No. So, but I have another point to this. Given that on the Democrat side and the moderators, they don't push their candidates too hard, is this what we want on our side? I've had this discussion with my dad a couple times. I hear other people, I've read what other people have to say about it. I've watched some videos on it since the debate season started back in August. There's a lot of Republicans and conservatives who get crazy because our candidates get these tough questions, and they got tough questions at the last debate. And then you see these Democrat debates, and it's like nothing. And we're worried what makes our candidates look like this and look like that, whereas their candidates just get to skate. I know it's wrong. The problem I have with this is that when I hear people say this, what I hear is, I wish our debates were as easy as their debates. And see, that's not what I want. That's what I hear. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's what I hear. And I know that there are people out there that think like, maybe I'm overestimating how many people think like that, but I know that there are at least some. And to those people, I ask you, do you really want to go through a debate where none of the candidates ever talk about the other candidate's problems? Do you really want to do that? I know John Kasich, he's Mr. Sunshine, even though people, I read enough about this to know that behind the scenes, he's not like that at all. But do we really want these guys to get up on, I can say these guys now, the Carla Fiorina, that makes my talking in the words I use a lot easier now that Carly Fiorina is not in here. I can just say guys, and I don't have to say guys and that woman. Do we really want those guys on stage just totally ignoring the flaws that each has? And none of them are perfect. Do we want that? I don't think that we do, but we get into that mode because we see what they're doing. And really, I don't care what they're doing. I don't care the kind of debates that they run. I would, if I was an adult, mature Democrat, I would be embarrassed. But I'm not. I'm an adult conservative. And I believe that these ideas need to be banged out and hashed out. Because when candidates don't get questioned hard enough, you get Barack Obama. And that could just as easily happen on our side. I think that can work both ways. It's no good if you're going to have these debates. They should be tough. And I don't care. Just because they're doing it wrong doesn't mean we should be doing it wrong. And we're so worried about us being damaged. See, I would see those debates as a time for us to show our character. Tough questions are and in your own lives outside of politics, those tough times in your lives are when you can show the kind of good person that you are. I happen to believe the reason that those moderators don't question Hillary and Bernie Sanders harder is because they don't want to show those two's true character, both of which sucks. And there's double standards, flaws, paradoxes all over the place. They know it. But we have a chance when our candidates are questioned hard for them to show themselves for who they are. We can show the character that each of them has. Even though as you know, I don't think that Donald Trump has any character. That's why I wish the questioning during these debates was even tougher. I want to see Ted Cruz get into the weeds on some of these issues. I want to see Marco Rubio do that. I want to see Donald Trump pressured. Because the presidency is a tough job. Being questioned in front of a moderator is nothing. This is, once again, I go back to, if you can't handle these moderators, how are you going to handle China? I don't know. And here's what I know. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, they can't handle China. They can't do it. They know that they're not going to get asked those difficult questions. How are you going to deal with Vladimir Putin? I always think that's an excellent point to make. Well, I don't want that moderator make me look stupid, so he can't ask me this question, and I'm not going to answer that question. Yeah, that's going to work real well on the world stage. Going to work real well. Because that's what happened with Barack Obama, and we know what we got. You know, we are so... if there was ever a group of people that were so worried about how we appear, it's us. You know, we're always trying to convince the voters out there, don't worry, we're compassionate. Don't worry, we're nice. Don't worry, we're this. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. You know, at some point it just gets old. We are so worried about how we come across, how we appear. Well, if you have true character and you are, your thoughts have a solid foundation, then you should be able to answer any question that's out there and come across as cool, calm, and collected. That's what we need as president. And I think, for example, that's where Ronald Reagan excelled. He had some very difficult situations dealing with the Soviet Union. I mean, he really provoked them. Really provoked them. Said, we're going to meet them out there. Wherever they are, we're going to go meet them. No détente. No, we're not doing that. But because he had the character, the integrity, and had knowledge of the situation, he knew what to do. And that's way more difficult than answering questions during debate. So, I know, you probably watched that debate last night to torture yourself, I guess. And didn't hear email or the word Benghazi or the word FBI or the words Clinton Foundation. None of those came up. And you get ticked off at the moderators. You get ticked off at the media. And you start thinking, man, I wish, and I know, we as humans, this isn't our human nature. Man, I wish our debates were like this. No, I don't. I don't. So I can't get with you on that, people, for those of you who think like that. But, and for any Bernie Sanders supporter who may happen to run into this show, I doubt you'd run into it on Red State Talk Radio. Maybe you're messing around on Podbean or SoundCloud, might run into this show. I got to ask you, before I get to the break here in about 45 seconds, I got to ask you, does it not bother you that Bernie Sanders doesn't bring Hillary Clinton's flaws up? You want Bernie Sanders to win, right? And don't you think that him bringing that stuff up would be helpful to him? Or don't you? Do you think that he would actually hurt himself by bringing it up? Which, to me, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Anybody who would take their support away from Bernie because he brings it up sounds to me like a Hillary Clinton supporter, to me. But I'll say it again, I have a hard time in a lot of these issues putting myself in the shoes of a Democrat. for you Bernie supporters, maybe you need to think long and hard about that. But I got to go to the break. You're listening to the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio.
You're listening to Red State Talk Radio, America's premier conservative talk radio network.
You critics don't define our honor. You try to shame us for doing our job. You teach children to fear us, crowds to attack us, and good people to doubt us. But we will never back down from our sworn duty to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. We wake up every day, put on our badge, strap a gun to our hips, kiss our families goodbye, and put our lives between the law-abiding and any criminal who threatens their rights. We serve people of every color and creed, men, women, and children in violent, dangerous neighborhoods, because they have the same right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as CEOs, movie stars, and the political elite. We are Americans, and we are the American police officer. We stand with the National Rifle Association of America, and the NRA stands with us. Together, we're freedom's safest place.
I know. We Christians are just as bad as Muslims who fly planes into buildings and video themselves sawing people's heads off and beheading kids and mutilating women and shooting people who draw cartoons. That's right. You better be just as wary of us Christians, because we don't mess around. Don't be insulting our Jesus, because you think Muslims are bad. Oh, man, don't push us. You think the Muslims are bad when they prey on people for insulting Muhammad? You're really going to get it when Christians pray for you for insulting Jesus.
It could be easy to take what we have for granted and not appreciate everything the men and women of law enforcement do for us every day. So to all my heroes out there, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for protecting my family,
my business,
my kids,
our community.
Thank you for listening to us,
for being there for me, for keeping me safe.
To all those in law enforcement, thank you.
This is Primo Mondoni, host of the Red State Town Hall. Join me Sundays at 11 p.m. Eastern on Red State Talk Radio, the dominant force in conservative internet talk radio. So, lock it in and rip the knob off.
This is Paul Preston, host of Agenda 21 Radio. Join me Monday through Friday on Red State Talk Radio, the dominant force in conservative internet talk radio. So lock it in and rip the knob off.
And we are back at the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio. Let's move on to something else. I saw this poll. Not an official poll, so you can take this for a grain of salt. You can choose to believe it. You can not believe it. Just going to put it out there. Seems possible to me. But at the Weekly Standard, Bill Kristol had a very short story. I'll link to it at edwarddentzel.com. You have to remember something. There hasn't been, because of everybody being in New Hampshire and Iowa, in South Carolina, at least for the Republicans, is next. For the Democrats, it's Nevada. There hasn't been a lot of polling done in South Carolina. In fact, you'd have to go back a little bit of a ways to find one. And then what happened in New Hampshire wouldn't have been factored in. And what happened in Iowa wouldn't have been factored in. But allegedly, there is an internal poll out there that has Trump at 32%, Ted Cruz at 26%, and Marco Rubio at 20%, and Jeb Bush at 10%. Once again, you can choose to believe it or not. Might just be a rumor. As you know probably already, Bill Kristol is no fan of Donald Trump. I'm not saying that his first choice is Ted Cruz or Jeb Bush. I really off the top of my head. He probably has said it somewhere, but off the top of my head, I don't know who Bill Kristol's number one candidate is. But being that he would release this poll with Trump ahead lends some credibility to it. Although I will say that if this is true, then Trump is in his head as much as he doesn't have as big a distance between him and the other candidates as he did in previous polls taken in January, back in December, and even before that. In fact, he's been leading in South Carolina for a long time. If this is true, though, and I'm going to couple this with something that I read at ricochet.com from one of my favorite conservatives, Peter Robinson. And you'll notice that I didn't say anything about John Kasich. I didn't say anything about Ben Carson. Is there anybody else still left in the race? We're really getting whittled down here. It's time for Jeb and John Kasich and Ben Carson to go. This is the point that Peter Robinson makes, and I think it's true as well. Ted Cruz is not going anywhere. Even if he loses the nomination and Donald Trump gets it, Ted Cruz could probably finish second from now through the last primary. Probably. Jeb Bush has no shot at winning, which means Jeb Bush has no shot at coming in second, let alone first. No shot. Mark Rubio, depending on what happens at the next debate, maybe he has a shot. Maybe he can even catch Ted Cruz, but in South Carolina, I doubt it. Unless Ted Cruz really, really flubs up, and maybe that's why these others are sticking around. And that could happen. But if things go off the way that we expect, then these other guys who are down here in fourth, fifth place, they have no shot. No shot. Now, this is not like back in 2012 where all those Mitt Romney supporters were trying to get all of those other candidates to drop out. Newt Gingrich. The truth was, in the end, we all knew that Mitt Romney was going to get the nomination. I didn't like it the way it went, though. But we thought, for those of us who were anti-Romney, it was good for these other to stick in there, to give Mitt Romney a hard time so he could work on his arguing, he could work on his debate skills, he could work on his campaigning to become a better general election candidate. Unfortunately, that didn't work. But this is different now. It's very competitive. Only 2 states have been done so far. Who knows what's going to happen? Each of these candidates at the top have the people, the supporters, the framework, the money to go at this for a long time. This is not like 2012. So it's a different situation, me expecting some of these people to drop out. They have no shot. I would guess that the reason that they're not dropping out, see, you have to put yourself inside these campaigns. You have to remember something. A lot of these people who work on these campaigns do this for a living. This is like a tax accountant around April 15th for them. Of course, tax accountants wish it was April 15th every day. And these people who run these campaigns are getting paid to run these campaigns. Whether it's a campaign manager or someone down the line, of course we know there's a lot of volunteers, but there are quite a few people that get paid too. They don't want their candidate's campaign to end because they know if the candidate's done, then no more checks for them. So they have it within their own self-interest to keep telling the candidate, no, you got to keep going. Oh, no, you can win down the road here. You can do this, you can do that. And I think that's what keeps these candidates around. being surrounded by a bunch of yes men, a little bit of their own ego, and also the self-interest of these people who need a check to pay their mortgage for the next month. So that's a large part of it. And that's one of the reasons people hate politics so much. But if you're Jeb Bush, Ben Carson's out there saying he thinks he can win South Carolina. I have to tell you, if there's a guy whose character has taken a big dent in the last few months, it's Ben Carson. He's Looney Tunes. He's out there doing an interview, and we know he keeps bringing up Iowa, that he would have won Iowa, whatever the case, if Ted Cruz hadn't done it. It just wasn't going to happen. And he wasn't going to win in New Hampshire. He has no shot in South Carolina. And more, he looks like a guy who is either just sticking around to raise his profile, or he's showing that he can be manipulated behind the scenes by Armstrong, Williams, and others. And I don't have to mention that there's even that rumor out there, once again, I have no idea, that his candidacy, there's a lot of people from the Nation of Islam who are running things behind the scenes as well. But he goes into these debates, most of the answers, he's totally incoherent, and he's sticking around thinking he can win South Carolina. Is he just doing this to screw over Ted Cruz now? Could it be? He says he's a man of character. Maybe he's doing this to help Donald Trump out. Is that what it has come down to? And for Jeb Bush, what are you going to do? John Kasich has no shot. None. You hear him talk, he's no different than what Chris Christie was saying before New Hampshire. He's going to go in there and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And then we know Chris Christie got his clock clean and now he's gone. Same way with John Kasich. Should just drop out. The other reason I think that Peter Robinson is saying this is because Peter Robinson feels the same way about Donald Trump that I do. And you're starting to see some articles pop up saying, you know what, a Trump presidency would be worse than a Hillary presidency. And that's coming from people on the right. And I have to tell you, that's the conclusion that I've come to as well. I don't think the country's going to be any better with Donald Trump as president compared to Hillary Clinton. The difference will be is that you'll have a political party that will disintegrate, and the Democrats, you think that Democrats get their way too much now. You just wait. You just wait. And that's why I've always said, if you want to change the system, you have to change it from within. These ideas about changing it from the outside, you know who believed that? That's like the Weather Underground and the Black Panthers and all that thought that they were going to cause race riots and blow things up. We're going to tear this institutions down and build something else up. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Even in the case of the United States leaving England, it's not like a bunch of colonists got on boats, went to England, and started blowing stuff up. They just said, we're just going to separate. See ya. You don't like it? You want to come over here and try to stop us? Okay, but we're just going to start our own country over here. We're not going to recognize King George II anymore. Way it goes. But I think if Donald Trump was alive back then, he would have been one of those guys that said, yeah, we need to go back to England and fight on their territory. There's different ways that you can handle all of this. And I think those people who are buying into this, we need to tear institutions down. And once again, it goes back to these it's almost like these guys are sticking around to help Donald Trump out. It's going to be worse than they could ever predicted. I'm going to stick by that. Does it feel like I'm going out on a limb? Does it feel like it? Could be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong. But what this poll is, if this poll is true, then these guys have a shot. Ted Cruz has a shot in South Carolina. And I didn't even get to it, but there's some ads coming out. Have you seen I'm a huge fan of the movie Office Space. Have you seen that about Hillary Clinton? Have you seen, there's a parody of Office Space with Hillary Clinton damaging or tearing apart her server. That was pretty good. And then the Cruz ad about Donald Trump. Has that Donald Trump, the action figure? I guess Donald Trump or Ted Cruz had to pull an ad because there was a porn star in his ad against Marco Rubio. You gotta love that. I mean, you gotta love any story that mixes politics and porn stars. So it's going to get nasty. It's about that time. I said that a few days ago. Now that Donald Trump has won something, it's time for everything to come out on all sides against all people. Now I know you're not going to see that on the left. Going back to the debate topic, you're not going to see it, but we need it because it's good. This is what freedom of speech is about: disagreeing with people and telling other people you're full of it. But we know the left doesn't believe in free speech, so it shouldn't be too much of a wonder that they don't argue with each other too much. But that poll, 32-26, Rubio 20, Trump, Cruz, Rubio, respectively. We'll see if it's true, but that's not happening until next Saturday anyway. So a lot can change. There's going to be a debate before that too. So there's that. Let's move on to something else. Got 5-6 minutes left. I didn't talk about this, but my mom has been having some health issues since she's been here in Florida. She's having problems with her legs, having problems walking, and so she's been seeing a lot of doctors while she's been down here. And she is absolutely thrilled with all of the help that she is getting down here. But she was at the doctor yesterday, and the conversation, and my dad was with her, and the conversation kind of swayed into Obamacare, and the doctor, who is a woman, Puerto Rican, just completely, I guess, went off on Obamacare and what it's doing to doctors and doctors who run their own clinics. And she knows so many of them who are getting out of the business. And she says the only people that can stick around are surgeons, but general practitioners, and like what you'd call family doctors. It just doesn't pay anymore. It's just not worth it. All the work that goes into it, and the money that they can make from it. I mean, she just really, really went off. And I guess my parents must have told her that I do this show for Red State Talk Radio. And my mother asked me, well, can you talk about it a little bit? And so I said, well, Obamacare comes up once in a while, but I really haven't, dug deep on it for a while, simply because what's there to do? Until you get a Republican president with a Republican Congress, it's not going anywhere. And your premiums are going to continue to go up, and there's going to be rationing. And I'm telling you, if Donald Trump is president, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. I'll stick by that as well. However, what I would like to remind all of you, and it's the simplest of simplest arguments that we can make. We get so caught up in pre-existing conditions, and I don't believe, as much as I know that most of the Republican candidates hate Obamacare, and I believe that. Even John Kasich, even though he's not conservative, they don't talk about it in the right way. Here's the way you need to talk about Obamacare to make your average person understand it. Doctors cure people, laws and politicians do not. And this, you can attach that to any other issue in the United States or any other industry in the United States. Plumbers fix your toilet, laws and politicians do not. The refrigerator man, electrician, fixes your refrigerator. The laws and politicians do not. And what you should know from that, what that means is that there are people who choose to go into the professions on their own. Okay? Without those people that choose to care about others, to cure people, who maybe build houses, build refrigerators, fix things, come to your house, do this, do that. Without those people choosing to do those professions, there isn't any law or any politician that can make any of that happen. And in fact, it's funny we're talking about this because this is a topic that I delve into in my Govicide series. For anything to work, somebody has to get up in the morning. Even if we were to have all robots doing everything, machines aren't perfect. You're still going to need robot repairmen. Eventually, a human is going to have to be involved. Because even if you have robot repairmen, try to understand that, maybe that robot repairman goes bad. Eventually, a human's going to have to be involved. Well, what if nobody wants to do that? What if the laws and the politicians getting in the way of people going into these different professions? Because that's what's going on with Obamacare. And when there's no doctors left, and there's no nurses left, and there's no massage therapists left, and no MRI technicians or anything like that, there is no law, no politician that is going to make you better. Nothing. And then what are you going to do? But nobody, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, any of your pundits out there, they never put it in these terms. Those doctors that you go to see are there by choice. And what it means is when they get too fed up with it, they can leave. And then what? Well, probably you're going to get sicker and you're going to die. We need a healthcare system that is run by the people who actually do the work. And we do not need politicians and laws to push those people around. They've gone to it by choice. Yes, they know that they can make a lot of money at it, but you know what? There's a lot of ways we can make money in the world. And dealing with people who are sick all the time, and all you're doing is seeing problems all day, takes a special person, and those people choose to do it anyway. And what the government has done to them, what a lot of average people want done to them, is disgraceful. Disgraceful. And a lot of other Americans who don't want the government to have anything to do with healthcare are paying for it, both with their lives and with their money. It's a disaster. We are pushing these people too far. We aren't. Liberals and socialists are pushing these doctors and nurses too far. On top of it, we have young people who would love to go into the medical profession who are staying away from it. But simple, we're going to keep this as simple as possible. The medical profession cures people, laws and politicians do not. I remind you can email me at edwarddentzel@reagan.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Dentzel Domain. Go to Amazon.com, find my books there. Just do a search for my name. EdwardDentzel.com is where you can find all of my old Red State Talk radio shows. EdwardDentzel.com/book is where you can download the first chapter of my next novel, The Comebacks, for free. You can find me on Podomatic, Podbean, SoundCloud, YouTube. Find me on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm everywhere, people. It's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. You've been listening to the Dentzel Domain on Red State Talk Radio. Have a great weekend.